What's going on? Matt Savoca here from Awesemo.com, bringing you the Wild Card Weekend Sunday DraftKings Contenders video. 3-game slate here. I love these small slates in the NFL, especially when it's playoff football. First, we got the Eagles versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then we got the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. Probably my favorite matchup of the weekend, at least from a real football standpoint. And then we've got the Steelers and the Chiefs here in what is possibly going to be the biggest blowout, at least I suspect it's going to be. Before we dig into this one though, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you always know when we're going live. You guys know what to do. And if you could give me, Matt Savoca, a follow on Twitter at Draftaholic, that would be much appreciated as well. We'd also like to thank our presenting sponsor, FanUp. Check out FanUp's Flexball NFL playoff contest with $200,000 going to first place, where you can pick a new team every week of the playoffs. Your team score will be added up at the end of every week, and when that's done, you'll find out if you made it through. There are weekly prizes you can get, like authenticated NFL jerseys from Fanatics, and use promo code Awesemo when you sign up to get 2,000 bonus points, which is the equivalent of $20, no deposit required. And for every third entry you put into that Flexball playoff contest, you'll get $25 off. Check out their ad at the bottom of the screen there. Make sure to use promo code Awesemo. Okay guys, on the screen here, you see my 10 through 6 of my top plays for this 3-game slate. Number 10, Cedric Wilson. Yeah, you're gonna need some sort of salary saving option, and in that 51-point biggest total game, San Francisco versus Dallas, I completely understand why you might want a player like Cedric Wilson. I know Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb are more likely to hit, and even Dalton Schultz has been utilized sometimes more often than Cedric Wilson. We saw an explosive performance from Wilson, so he's last week, I should say. So I'm not surprised that this week we're not necessarily point chasing by seeing him in the optimal lineup 31% of the time. Now, Eli Mitchell is a player I absolutely love. He actually ranks in the top 5 among all backs in the last 6 weeks in terms of total team opportunity share. He doesn't quite make the top 5, but he is a fantastic contrarian running back option compared to the players we have at the top of the boards. You'll have to keep watching to find out who I'm talking about. Still, Mitchell in the optimal lineup more than a third of the time, 34% chance. Patrick Mahomes, of course, the ceiling so high against the Steelers defense, who at times has really struggled. Yes, they've struggled more against the run than the pass, but this is Mahomes we're talking about. He has an unprecedented ceiling, even on a slate where you've got players like Tom Brady. He's in the optimal lineup 40% of the time. Then Dallas Goedert. This one is kind of surprising, right? Because you got players like number 6, and you got players like Travis Kelce on this 3-game slate, and still Goedert has a similar ceiling and floor projection to these players with a lower salary. Gotta love that. So he is a value play for sure. But George Kittle coming in about the same as Goedert, 41.1% chance of being in the optimal lineup. He is my preferred choice. The ceiling is just so high. I mean, we had 2 straight games where he had 150 or more receiving yards, and 3 straight where he had over 90 receiving yards. Yes, I know the production has been down in recent weeks, but I'm very excited to see a 30-point score firmly in the range of outcomes, a 19% chance of getting there, and a 16.4 median projection at just 5,800. Sign me up for that as well. George Kittle is the number 6 player on my top plays list. Doesn't quite make the top 5 though. Who does? Let's watch and find out. At number 5, Amari Cooper, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys are favored by just 3 points here, but this Vegas total game expects this one to be a shootout. And I think not only is this going to hit its total, but I think it's going to go over. I don't think these defenses are going to be able to keep up with their respective offenses that they're facing. The Dallas Cowboys in PFF team offensive grades, surprisingly, the number 1 offense, at least according to those grades, of all playoff teams. San Francisco, no slouch defensively, 4th among all playoff teams, but in the secondary, they are banged up as they have been for most of the season here. And Amari Cooper quietly turning into a wide receiver 1 on this team compared to CeeDee Lamb. 25 total targets for Amari Cooper in his last 3 games played. He had an 11 target game 3 weeks ago, including 3 in the red zone. He's getting usage all over the field, but you really like to see it near the end end zone. He's got 2 touchdowns in that 3-game span and a 15.3 median projection. That's going to do very, very well at just a $5,900 salary. Really exciting to see an 18% chance of him scoring 30 or more. I don't necessarily think it's that high in terms of his ceiling here, but against San Francisco, the ceiling is definitely in play. Amari Cooper comes in just ahead of George Kittle in the optimal lineup 42% of the time. At number 4, it's wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill had some sort of injury in warmups to his heel last week. It really seemed to bother him, but they've already announced that barring any setbacks, he is set to play and play his full snap share. And if he does, he could certainly smash against the Steelers defense, who has been really up and down in the second half of the season. I mentioned that they've been pretty bad against the run, only so-so against the pass. This is all relative here. They're really just a league average defense in most defensive metrics, and that's what we see here. 9th out of 14 playoff teams in PFF team defensive grades. Now, I am surprised to see the Chiefs at 9th in team offensive grades, but you know that's really because the middle of the season, there was some wonkiness there. You know the ceiling for this team is truly the #1 overall offense, and there's a 30% chance that Tyreek Hill helps them get there by getting a 30-point score or higher, and he's got a 20-point median projection, so that's certainly worthwhile at a $7,300 salary. I know there's been some volatility, a 3-target game in week 18, a 2-target game in week 16, and then sandwiched between those are the 13-target game in week 15, and in week 17, a 10-target game, including 2 in the red zone. So you know what Tyreek Hill can do in terms of being a target monster. He can absolutely have a dozen or more targets, like I mentioned. He could also just have 6 targets, but 4 of them are Patrick Mahomes bombs. He comes down with 3 of them, and he's still in the optimal lineup. A 42.2% chance to be in the optimal lineup for Tyreek Hill. He comes in at number 4. At number 3, CeeDee Lamb. And yes, we were talking about how Amari Cooper, 25 targets over the last 3 games. Well, CeeDee Lamb's only had 11. That's definitely concerning, and that's a far cry from weeks 14 and 15 when he had 19 total targets over 2 weeks. And, you know, it was looking like he was the de facto #1 receiver, but now it looks like it's going back and forth. Still, we got a balance of floor and ceiling that's absolutely worth it at 6,300, a 17.5 median fantasy point projection. Really good. And as I mentioned when we were talking about Amari Cooper, San Francisco's secondary has struggled for much of the season. An 18% chance of scoring 30 fantasy points is surprisingly higher than the 17% chance of scoring less than 10 fantasy points. We are really bullish on CeeDee Lamb. I think he is definitely a volatile play, but then again, all wide receivers are volatile plays every time you play them. The ceiling here is what you're chasing, and he absolutely can get there. He's in the optimal lineup 61% of the time. At number 2, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, Darrell Williams, the first of our 2 free square running backs, dare I say. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been ruled out of this contest due to a shoulder injury, and yes, Jerick McKinnon will work in somewhat here, but Darrell Williams is going to take this backfield for himself this weekend, and it's a game where the running backs should be used at least at some point. 13-point favorites the Kansas City Chiefs are, a middling 46-point total, but we'll take that for a running back who's going to get probably 20, maybe even 25 total opportunities. We've seen 6 or more targets in 3 games, here for Darrell Williams this season, and we've really seen a larger target floor for Williams when he's the bell cow than when Edwards-Helaire is in there. I'm not sure why necessarily, but they definitely trust Darrell Williams as a pass catcher as well as a runner here. He's got about a 10% chance of scoring 30 fantasy points, so that's actually pretty low for a player who's ranked number 2. Maybe he makes more sense in cash games or small field tournaments. I'm not saying you can't play him in large fields, but it's really that median projection compared to that super low salary, 5,200, the salary-based expectations. He should absolutely smash that here in a positive game script. Darrell Williams just at number 2, an 88% of our optimal lineups. Now, before I reveal my number one play on DraftKings for this 3-game Sunday slate, just want to remind you guys to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you always know when we're going live. You guys know what to do. And if you could give me, Matt Savoca, a follow on Twitter, that would be much appreciated. I'm at Draftaholic. We'd also like to give one more shout out to our presenting sponsor, FanUp. Join FanUp's Flex Ball NFL playoff contest. How about $200,000 to first place? That sounds pretty good to me. How about weekly prizes like authenticated NFL jerseys from Fanatics? How about free money with no deposit required? You get 2,000 bonus points, the equivalent of $20 when you sign up with promo code Awesemo. Check it out today. Okay, guys, let's reveal my number one player on DraftKings for this Sunday slate. And at number one, running back Leonard Fournette for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Fournette hasn't played since week 15 when he got hurt against the New Orleans Saints, but Ronald Jones already ruled out in this one. We know Fournette's going to play, and I don't expect Le'Veon Bell to suddenly become a bell cow in this backfield by any stretch. It's going to be a rainy day. There might actually be a lot of wind in this one in Tampa Bay. They're going to be forced to move the ball on the ground, and that's where Fournette comes in. A 24.8 fantasy point median projection at 5,600. Are you kidding me? There are just so many ways this can go right. He can absolutely work in as a pass catcher, and you know he's probably going to get 18 to 20 total touches in the backfield as a rusher. So 44% chance of scoring 30 fantasy points. That's the kind of ceiling we want. Yeah, there's a small chance he scores less than 10 fantasy points, like 5% chance, but literally 95% of the time in our simulations, he's scoring double digits. That's so fantastic. Just ahead of Darrell Williams, Leonard Fournette is the number one play on DraftKings this weekend. And that is gonna do it for the Sunday slate. Wild card weekend DraftKings contenders video. If you're looking for the FanDuel version of this video, it's around here somewhere. Go ahead and search for it on the channel. We will be back for your Sunday night football needs, the Steelers versus the Chiefs. It'll be included here. That's kind of exciting. And then we'll be talking about the Monday night football game, Arizona and Los Angeles. That should be a great one. Until then, I'm Matt Savoca from Awesemo.com. We'll see you guys next time.